make a mark. Silence, compliance, let others get smart. Never a truth in a word that they write. Don't listen or take it to heart. Stand up and be counted with your boots on the ground. March for the cause with banners be loud. Lost generations will never be found till the numbers rise up to your martyrs proud. Giddy up, keep waging war. Suck it up and make the haters hate you more. Expected to fall back and just do your part. A timeless defiance bites worse than its bark. Whatever the pressure, we all stand and fight. Won't listen or tear us apart. The inmates have taken over the asylum. Look sharp and focus, it pays to keep up with crooks in their castles. We must never be bound. Let the numbers rise up to your martyrs proud. Giddy up, keep waging war. Suck it up and make the haters hate you more. Giddy up, keep waging war. Suck it up and make the haters hate you more. See the words into your chest. Step out of the rest. You've got to confess. Your kings, your queens, don't care for the rest. See the words into your chest. Giddy up, keep waging war. Suck it up and make the haters hate you more. See the words into your chest. Step out of the rest. You've got to confess. Your kings, your queens, don't care for the rest. See the words into your chest.
Good evening, everybody. How's everyone doing? Welcome into another live lesson with myself, Geoff Fry. For those just dropping in for the first time, I'm a professional bass drummer in the UK. We've been doing live lessons now over the whole of the lockdown. Fingers crossed we're coming towards the end of lockdown now in the UK, or certainly the first, let's hope the last part of it. So we've been doing these live lessons on Tuesdays, Thursdays and some Saturdays as well, on various different things, all to do with drum kit. So the idea is, get your sticks, get your pad. If you haven't got that, sit, hands on legs, see if you can learn some stuff from me. Today we're going to be looking at the concept of 64th notes. Now, we'll go into that in a moment. What I always do at the start is let a few people drop in so they don't miss the intro, and also we'll do a little bit of a warm-up to get our kind of hands going, our brains going. It gives me a chance to kind of get a bit more comfortable before we get stuck into the main concept. So through the lesson today, if you've got any questions, type in. You'll see me keep glancing over there because your questions come up on the screen over there, both YouTube, Facebook. Type in and I'll see if I can answer any questions. The format tends to be, we'll do a bit of a warm-up. We'll do about 15-20 minutes of the lesson today. I'm not going to go really long today, and then at the end we'll do a kind of question answer. If you've got any questions at all throughout the process though, then just type in. So say hello if you're dropping in. Let me know where you're watching from. Hope everybody is well out there, well as can be expected at the moment with all this craziness going on. Let's do a bit of drumming, maybe take our minds off it for a little bit. So we'll start off with today then. We're going to start off with some singles. Now the stuff that we're going to do today is going to be based on singles and doubles anyway, right, when we do the 64th note stuff. So we're just going to do something now just to get our hands moving. So just join in with me. I'm going to assume that most people can read. Obviously not everyone can read, so I'm going to break it down real quickly. For you guys who are a little bit more advanced, hang in here for the first part. I'm going to go reasonably slow, and then I'll give you guys something to work on as well when we do the second bit. So, okay, so the basics of that top line are simply this. followed by the same sound, same rhythm, but with singles. The last one doesn't quite finish, because what we're going to do is then we're going to switch hands and try letter B. But let's just do A couple of times, all right? So I'll do this with a met, I think. I'm going to put the met on at, let me think, probably about 60 actually be a good pace for this. So let's start there. Let's start 60 beats per minute. Oh, I need to press one button on the computer so you can actually hear it. Let me know if the met's too loud for you. I have it fairly loud, but if it's blowing your ears off, I can adjust that. So we got a Woody Woodpecker one at the moment, right? I might change this to kit actually.
3 and dot.
So we're going to play digga digga dat dat digga digga dat. So that's pretty easy, isn't it? Right, where it gets a bit more difficult is when we then have to do the left-handed version. If you've never done anything left lead before, you're going to struggle a bit with this. And later today, we're going to be looking at some kind of, I suppose you might call gospel chops type licks. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this when we get to that part of the lesson. But a lot of the guys who are very good at that stuff do a lot of left-hand lead stuff. So it's important, if you're into that stuff, get your left hand strong. If you're not into that stuff, it's important to have a strong left hand anyway. So if we have a go at letter B, I've got this. For more advanced guys, just do something with your feet, even if it's something simple. So we'll start to take it up a little bit. For guys who've never seen that before, just go whatever pace you can do it. You don't have to keep up with this today. So we'll go, I'm going to change that sound. I couldn't hear that sound actually, I'm afraid then. So I'm going to go back to the old Woody Woodpecker. We'll put on 8 notes, I think. 90 beats per minute. Just join in with your sticks. Digga-digga-da-da, digga-digga-da-da, digga-digga-da-da-da. 1, 2, 3, 4. Finding that easy, we're going to go faster in a minute. Just do something more difficult with your feet, or start to maybe move around the drums. I'll move around the drums this time so you get an idea. So that part there, this part, again, if you find it easy, maybe put some accents in there. Or do the opposite. Right, but we're going to start to take the speed up now. Some of you guys, if you fall out here, just do whatever speed you could do. We're going to go for, let's try 110. That's pretty quick, right? 1, 2. Now, I'm going to take a bet here that some of you guys have never done anything off the left-hand leaf before. So just by getting used to trying to learn things off the right and then trying to do it off the left, you'll find that it's way, way more difficult. So anyone who's struggling with that, just go slower, take it nice and slow. Just a nice little exercise to sit on a pad and just play. This is the sort of thing that I would sit and maybe just warm up when I'm backstage at a gig. It doesn't matter how many you do. You do one of each if you want. Obviously speed-wise, you know, it's unlimited, whatever you can do. Just a nice little exercise to get our hands moving. Okay, somebody do me a favour. If you're watching on Facebook now, just type hi in. Just I'm a little concerned that my screen over here that normally gives me all of my chat is not switched on. So if you're watching on Facebook now, do me a favour, just type in hi, just so I can see if I'm getting anything come up. In fact, I'm going to say hi to you as well. Let's see if that gets it connected. Okay, so if you're dropping in for the first time, tonight's lesson, right, we're looking at a concept of 64th notes, and we're going to be looking at it in a kind of a format that might loosely relate to gospel chops, which I'll explain in a moment. Okay, Dusty, how you doing? Thanks for saying all right. So I can definitely see people on YouTube. Awesome. Right, so what are 64th notes, first of all? Right, 64th notes you don't really hear a lot about, and often when I'm teaching someone lessons and I'm going through from beginners, quarter notes, eighth notes, 16th notes, 30 seconds, and then you sort of mention 64th, they're like, oh, I must be so fast. And yes and no, because what you've got to keep in mind is when we do these 64th notes, it might be a really slow song. So the song that we're going to look at doing today is 60 beats per minute, or 62 beats a minute. So it's quite slow. So we can fit 64th in without it being crazy fast, right? So I need you to understand the concept though first. So what you can see at the top of there is quarter notes. So if I just keep my bass drum doing this, right, and I'll try and talk over the top of it without screwing it up. So if I now change these to eighth notes, but I leave my bass drum doing the quarter notes, we've now got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, well, the next step, look, will be 16th notes. So I've got 1 E under, 2 E under, 3 E under, 4 E under, right? And the next step, 32nd notes. Now, some people like to count these 1 E under, 2 E under, 3, or 1 E under, 1 E under, 2 E under, 2 E under, 3 E under, 3 E under, 4 E under, 4 E under. If you struggle with counting, just count to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you struggle with that, say caterpillar twice. Caterpillar, 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 stop. So that'll be 32nd notes. Well, double that is going to be 64th. Now, the easiest way for me to do that is to still do that, but just roll. So that is my 64th notes. Can I do the singles maybe? Hard on that rim, right? But basically what would happen is the 32nd notes I'd be playing with one hand. So I'd be going 1 E under, 1 E under, 2 E under, 2 E under, 1 E under, 1 E under, 2 E under, 2 E under, 1 E under, 1 E under, 2 E under, 2 E under, 3 E under, 3 E under, 4 E under, 4 E under. Now the 64th notes are not going to be that common as played as they're written on the screen right there. Where they are going to be common is when we just use 2, 3, 4 of them, which is what we're going to look at doing today. So let's get into the main part of today's lesson there. So today's lesson is all about a guy called Pete. So Gospel Chops, right? There used to be a website called Gospel Chops when YouTube kind of first came back. So I'm talking like 15 years ago, probably, that kind of area. And there wasn't loads of YouTubers like there are now all doing crazy licks. The only guys who sort of got associated with loads of licks tended to be people who do clinics, or the guys who got the name Gospel Chops. Now, I came across some of these guys on a video which I'm going to show you in a second. Or not some of these guys, I mean there's millions of guys, but some of the guys who are really good at that early on. And I was like, damn, all of these guys are like amazing at this stuff. Not just a bit good, but like it just blew my mind how everyone could be good. Now in a minute I'm going to show you one of the guys that we're going to work on his ideas. But there was a bass player on there, J Bass, I think he just called, and I'll give you the links to this afterwards. But even he was amazing. And I was just thinking like, well, I've never come across this stuff. So I started obsessing with this idea of gospel chops and just trying to find everything. Well, these guys here were the first people that I ever saw, and consciously saw anyway, using 64th notes in standard grooves. And so that's why we're going to look at it. Right, let me show you the quick clip. So have a quick look at this clip. So this is him playing along with the track. There's about 30 seconds here, so watch this. Let me know if you don't get sound. I'm pretty sure you will then.
Check 2. I'm making go down, make it steady. Do that, it's so the bitch. Badass, Keisha, and damn, oh shit. Goddamn, shit, cramming, oh slamming, and right. I'm a jam.
Okay, so if your first reactions were like mine, I was just like, oh, I don't want to drum ever again. How am I going to do that? And so after you kind of get over that defeatist kind of attitude, right, for the want of a better way of saying it, what I started to do then was to try and break down what he's actually doing and try and figure out, well, what are the concepts that he does there that I'd never seen before at the time can I actually take on board? And that's what I'm hoping to give you guys today. We're not going to learn his stuff note for note, right? We could just break it down one bar at a time and do that, but I don't think that's the best way of doing this. I think the best way is to get the concepts. And this first concept then is this idea of being able to use 64th notes. Now, as I mentioned earlier, with 64th notes, it doesn't mean it's quick because the pace of the song is so slow. Now, today I'm talking about in the form of 64th notes. With anything like this, you can always half the speed and then think of it as 32nd notes, or half the speed again and think of it as 16th notes, all right? It's not actually too difficult what we're going to do today. So let's get this up first of all. So we've got here, look. On the left-hand side, let's go in a bit closer. So the way I went about learning this then, this concept, not all the beats, but the sort of style, let's call it, that he was playing, is first of all, I made sure that I understood where I was playing with these 64th notes. That's what I want to get you guys doing. So all I've got to do to begin with then is I've got 32nd notes written there at the moment. All right, so I've got that kind of feel, right? So if I just play that. Now, it isn't crazy fast yet, right? Because we're going to be putting some other notes around that, right? But the basics are, make sure you can do that first of all, right? So 60 beats a minute. I'd stick with me at the moment. I know this is quite simple, but I want to make sure you will get this. So if I stick this on 62 beats a minute, I think it is, right? Let's put on Steve counting for us, because this will be useful for us.
3 and 4 and
So I've got
1 and
2
2
and
3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3.
Pretty simple so far. Then what I started to find was there was all these broken 32nd notes. So there's obviously thousands of combinations you could do. I'm just going to show you one today, but the one that I liked, that I took to, was that one you can see D there. So all I've got now is a pattern that goes. Now, don't ask me to count this, because for me, I don't want to say it's a feel thing, because that kind of is a bit of a get out clause, right? But when I say it's a feel thing, I mean it's more of a remembering a rhythm thing. So I'm thinking of da 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 da. It's hard at the speed we're going to be going at to think of one E and a, E and a. So if you had to, you'd go one E and a, stop. One E and a, two, right? But I would just play it. So, no 64ths yet, but what I started to find then is one of the things that he was doing that I kind of stole from him, or took a concept and ran with a little bit, is doing these doubles in there. So everywhere that every time I start with this digger at this part, simply press into that and get some doubles. Kind of a 6-stroke roll in there. If you're better with singles, you can do it with singles. For me, it's difficult at that speed, but if you can do it better than that, maybe you'll find it easier like that. But where the big kind of interest for me was when it went further away from being a beat that didn't have any breaks in it to one that had loads of breaks. And so this one here is pretty close to the groove that I kind of first copied. So you can see there that I've got another bass drum added in there and another little double. So now the rhythm now goes. So I'm breaking up those 32nd notes now. the final change came to me was when I started to figure out a way that I could actually practice this stuff. And so what I've done, and what I'm going to get you guys to do, is in this gap here, sometimes in music you see these written here. Now, I don't actually know what the official description of those are, but whenever I see those, what I assume is that it's a rhythm that someone wants me to play, but I'm allowed to make the melody anything I want. In other words, someone wants me to play da 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 da, but I can hit whatever I want. Now, when I see it written like, as opposed to that, like that, so there'd be a quarter note there, wouldn't there? Yeah, like that. Now, in my head, that's telling me just play something that stays in time that's fitting with the music, right? Fitting with the music. So all it means is basically make something up to go in that gap. So what I start to find then is I can see it, and you could do the same. You can start to add lifts. You take a simple groove. And I'm literally just trying to throw anything in there, just anything that comes into my head at the time. Now, what I would do is I'd sit on that 5 or 10 minutes. I've got a loop of the song on my phone, which I'm going to play in a moment so you can kind of hear what's going on. And then hopefully off of that, then you can start to get some ideas, right? I've got another couple of things I want to show you, though, so don't go leaving yet, right? So, well, let's do that. Let's get the track on. Now, what I tend to find then with this sort of track, right, so the track has got a bit of a click behind it so I can hear what's going on. Bad language, apologies for that. So if I play the simplest beat, so already you can start to see I'm making stuff up all around that thing. I'm not just playing that simple pattern anymore. Now for me, I think that's the only way to really get this. If I just sit and play this for 2 hours and remember this, the chances of that ever coming out for me live in a song or in a session or in any jam night or anything like that is zero. So what I'd have to sit and do is try and make up as many things as I can. And what I'm doing there when I'm throwing these things out is some are awful, some are good, some are bad. And you have to kind of get used to that awkwardness, especially when you're live on the internet playing and everyone's kind of watching you. But it's the same anyway. If you go to a jam night, if you've got to get used to the fact that if you throw 10 brand new things at a drum kit, then if you're very lucky, 9 will be good, 1 will be bad, right? You might be the other way around. You might be 1's good and 9's bad, but that ratio is going to slowly get better the more that you do it. But that learning curve is something that you have to get used to going through, right? So for guys who are, like me, really self-conscious, or I certainly was more self-conscious, I still am quite self-conscious, it's horrible, right? You've got to try and let yourself go with that stuff a little bit and just try stuff out. I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to start to overplay a little bit, and I'm going to show you some feels. So again, I'll start with the basic beat. So what I'm trying to do is find my way back every time to the basic. but with those little 64th notes in there. So that's the basic groove. Anyway, that's the groove that I kind of came up from and then sort of went off in different directions off of that idea, right? Now, once I'd got that kind of concept, because that's not a song I play or even a style that I'm, particularly good at, but off of that idea, that started getting me thinking then out of the box a little bit. So whenever I came across something new, like a 16th note or 32nd note pattern, I started to then, I'm not scared then to think, can I put 64ths in there or can I not? And so once I let myself loose a little bit on that, then the things that I'm more comfortable with, like the rolls and things like the stuff that I'm kind of naturally good at, I could put those into that format rather than just trying to sound exactly like, I think Pete Alexander, I think is his name, sounds in that track. So this one here just is an example of something that I use in that kind of concept, where all I do is I take 30-second notes, one E under, 1 E under, 1 E under, 2 E under, 2 E under, but I'm throwing a little 30-second note in there. And that's going to put me on my left hand. So I either come out of my left hand by doing a double left in there somewhere, or I just come out left-handed. Or I loop. And eventually you sort of find your way out and you get used to hitting that, whether it's a right hand or left hand. So the concept then, I've got some questions I was going to read in a second, I can't quite see the screen at the moment, but the concept then of these 64th notes is the thing that I want to get across to you, is that they're not something that's particularly difficult if you get the tempo of the song correct, right? Could I do that with a song that's 120 beats a minute? No, not a chance. Right, I can play rolls pretty quick as well, so I'd be like, but it wouldn't have a kind of a feel or a groove to it. And I could drop little ones in maybe. You know, drum and bass, if it's maybe I'd squash it in that way, but other than that, it's not really going to work. So it's only certain songs, certain tempos, all right? Now, anyone wants to go and try it, this track is just like you see at the top of the screen there, it's just called Total Tripping. It's an old song because this video was recorded, and the guy you want to search for is called Pete Alexander. Okay, let's have another quick look at the vid. Well, so you know where I'm coming from with those ideas, while I quickly read some of these questions.
Check one. Bad boy. My mic sounds like. Check two. E-U-F-F. I'm making go down. Make this day. Do it. And so the bitch. Bad. Keisha. And bam. Oh shit. Got that shit. Cranking. Oh slamming. And right. I'm a jam.
So you can see there, he's got a serious mastery over those fast, intricate little chops. Now, to get that kind of mastery, you've got to be playing those songs quite a lot of the time. It's hard for a lot of drummers to find a genre where that happens, where you can throw that stuff in. I don't play a lot of those, hardly ever, right? But I think it's good to at least have a little bit of knowledge of these 64th notes, so that when you do come across something that's slow like that, you might just have the guts, the balls, whatever you want to call it, just to throw in one of those little fast, like, because there's other ways we could do it. I mean, there's other feels that in that particular track I might just only go to, which was the stuff we were doing at the start of the lesson, but it's just a little bit faster. Yeah, Mark's just had a question, so I think he's put to everybody, but he was just saying hybrid or electronic drums for noise reduction, practice at home. So what are people using? So I'd be interested actually for some of you guys to maybe answer that. What are you using at the moment for practice at home? So for me, I'm moving house in the near future. This house is already sold. When I move to the new house, I've got to have a new studio built. And so I'm going to be without a kit for, I don't know, I'm hoping it's a short amount of time. I've got everyone lined up to sort of to do it, but you still got to wait for things like concrete to dry and stuff like that. So I might be without a studio for say 3 weeks. And so I'll have to put the kits in somewhere else. And I would say for me, it's going to be electronic kits. That's the only way. I think the thing is with hybrid is you start to get the volume of a kit. It's pretty loud, pretty damn loud. So if you've got any neighbours, I think the electric kits are great. I think there is still a slight difference between the electric kits, and I'm talking even if you buy Roland TD50 or whatever the equivalent of Yamaha or Alesis, whoever else. They're still not quite the same yet as this is, but I think it's close enough that you can practice and then get onto a real kit and still have a good time. I think one of the downsides of the electric kits that people find is that they, because of budgets, right? When you first buy one, you tend to say, like, unless you've got loads of money, you tend to buy one for like £200, £300, £400, £500, and they're not very good. Certainly not compared to this, so it takes the fun out of drumming. So what I would say to most people is, rather than buy one of the cheaper ones, if your budget means that's all you can afford, that's all you can afford. Tough, right? That's what I started with, one of those. But if you're better off just saving your money for 6 months and then buying one of the ones that's £1,000 or £1,500, that kind of range, and then that'll be something that you want to get on all the time, rather than buying a cheap one that you just sort of think, oh, this doesn't sound anything like my real kit. One of the downsides of them is that they don't look like a real kit. So sometimes it feels a bit odd when you get on a kit where you've got little tiny pads and then you jump off of there onto one of these. So again, the more expensive kits have got the bigger sizes drums. Okay, right, that's all I wanted to do today on that. I just wanted to give you a bit of an insight into the concept of these 64ths. Any questions at the moment? Everyone's quite quiet this evening. There's got to be some questions coming in. So the guys that I was showing you a moment ago, if you have a look and you search for Pete, I think if you just search Pete Gospel Chops, I'll put a link actually after this video is uploaded. I'll put a link up for you to lead to it. But basically, they're all they're in a church, and so I'm assuming that once a week after church, because they're all sat in the same room together. There's one drum kit, and there are about 5 of them. They all jump on this drum kit one at a time and film themselves playing to different songs, and they're all amazing. So especially that style of drumming, that fast kind of crazy, almost out of control chops drumming. If you like that stuff, then go and check that out, because I wouldn't say they started it necessarily, but it's quite far back in the history of that stuff. So you might get stuff off of them that by now has been made so difficult that you can't tell what's going on. No questions? Okay. Right, we're going to wrap up tonight then. So I'm not going to be doing a lesson on Thursday at the moment. So the next time you're going to see me is next Tuesday. This whole COVID thing seems to slowly be getting towards an end in the UK. So I'm hoping I can start doing private lessons again. Maybe, well, certainly when the hairdressers and stuff go back, then that's probably my chance to do it. So it's going to be a couple of weeks at the most, I think, unless we have a big, another lockdown. I like to keep these going. I've got to wait and see what happens with my private lessons. Normally now I'll be doing a one-to-one lesson. If any of you guys are interested in the one-to-one lessons, then give me a shout. I've got spaces for that. The Skype lessons are the same as this. You get all these views, and we can work on whatever you want to work on. So I can send you the sheets after, and we can pay through PayPal or bank transfer, that kind of thing. If you guys enjoyed this, get yourself over to YouTube. I've got a bunch of lessons on there. Geoff Fry drummer, all different things. I'm sure some of you will get some out of that stuff. So thanks for hanging out. Hope you enjoy that. I'll catch you all next Tuesday, possibly the last show, but we shall see. Thanks for watching. See you next time.